Hi, I'm Allie. Join me as I show you our new laser cut wooden flag forms that you can decorate, whether or not you want to do this as a pendant, as a pin, as an ornament, as a pair of earrings, the smaller versus the bigger, adding some acrylic designs in as well. Remember, if you need any supplies or want to check out all the forms, go ahead and look below the video in the description. We'll put links there to get back to our site listing everything out for you. Gather up your supplies or just watch for some ideas, and you can gather up after and we'll get started. All right, so there's a lot of different options to work with when it comes to these wooden flag forms. We have a number of different designs, also some teardrops, some stars, and some other patriotic themes as well too. I've done both of my sample pieces here, one as an earring and one as a piece to hang either from a tree or even from a rear view mirror, hanging down with fringe. The larger forms are going to fit 8/0 seed beads in between. The smaller forms fit delica beads or 15/0s, or if you want, like I'm doing here, I have a little bit of a three-dimensional effect going on where they sit inside, and I'm using 11/0 Azuki. The top here, you can obviously take some paint markers if you want to. I painted this with the blue paint marker and then dotted it with the gold marker. It doesn't score the whole way through, it's just there at the top. And the smaller ones, we do have a tiny little corner-based hole in case you do want to put them hanging it from that side or hanging it like I did here, almost as a little pendant. I'm featuring in this design as well these acrylic stars that we have cut. So between Nathan and Anna and Aaron as well, we've got all kinds of ideas going through right now with the different things we produce. And this is a kind of copy of all of them. I do have some E6000 glue here because I use that to glue on my star here in front of the shape after we go on and we create our stripes. For this video, I'm going to show you how we start off the earring type, which is going to be the same thing, just a smaller size. And then the fringe along the bottom is going to basically be how we did the hanger and the top. So to get started, I am using the green dragon thread and a size 10 needle. The reason I'm using the green is because it is a very light green and it fades into the wood really nicely so you don't see it. Right here at the end, I'm going to take my thread right now and go through my form. So I'm going the whole way through the form here. I'm going to take this, these are hot off the laser. I'm going to take this and go through the form. I'm going to tie the thread end. I have about 2.5 to 3 feet of thread. I'm just going to tie it right here at the top of the piece. Now, if you want to, you could do this as a pendant as well and have some fringe hanging down. Lots and lots of different options. I love the forms because like we have, we're doing Twitch right now, and Dee mentioned that we also have the ribbon form that you can customize. We have the wreath, which you can customize, and the open forms as well. So go on in, check out our laser products, and you get a lot of different items. I've tied the end of the ribbon or end of the thread onto the form itself. Note that when you get the forms, they have a protective coating on them that needs to be pulled off. The same with the stars. I've pulled off one side. When I pull off the other side, I usually go in with my needle whenever I'm pulling off, and I just kind of take that needle, go underneath the paper, it'll pull up, and then you just pull the whole thing off the piece. Once you have that tie on there, we're going to create this little V section. I'm going to bring the camera in a little bit closer. And see how the V section here is made up of gold seed beads, and then we get to the top and we use an 8/0. The golds are 11s, and we're going to add 8 of our gold 11/0 seed beads. After we add those 8 gold, we're going to add 1 of our blue beads. That blue bead is going to work towards the top, and see how this cord is kind of sitting to the back? Don't worry about it. We'll pull it to the center as we add the blue row. Grab your wire guard or wire protector, go up through one side of that wire guard, down through the opposite side of the wire guard. Pull that down close to your project. I like to go in if I'm bringing it into one single bead and kind of pinch my wire guard so that the opening is not as big and it's more teardrop shape. Take your needle and thread then, go down through that blue bead. So your thread was coming up through it. You added your wire guard, came down the opposite side of the wire guard, and then came back through that blue bead. From here, we're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 of our 11 seed beads again. Go over to the opposite side here. So from the back of the design, or honestly the front, it doesn't really matter. And then you're going to go back through those seed beads. Go back up through the 8 seed bead, back up through the wire guards to reinforce. And you don't even need to bead these forms if you don't want to. You can keep it so that way it is just entirely a wood form and just have that V look. Go up through the wire guard, back down through the 8 seed bead, and back down through the opposite side, those 8 11-ohs. Once you're down through those 8 11-ohs, sometimes you get them lined up perfectly and sometimes not. Once you're down through those 8 11-ohs, give a nice tight pull. We're going to wrap through the piece again, going from the back to the front this time, and come up towards the front. Now what I want you to do is take your needle and thread and go behind that row of seed beads, just the thread there, and kind of bring it towards the front. We're going to now connect those 2 sections of our 11-ohs with 7 of our 8 seed beads. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And again, this just brings some of that blue color to the top. You don't need to do so if you don't want to. Those 7 seed beads kind of fit perfectly in the middle there. You're going to go from the front of that Y of seed beads to the back, and then back through those 8-ohs. As you come back through the 8-ohs, you're going to go to the front of that Y of seed beads. What that's going to do, and make sure you're just around the thread towards the bottom here, is grab that and put those right in the middle there. So we use the thread to grab onto rather than going through the form. As you go from the front of the form to the back of the form here, after your 8-ohs, we're going to get ready to add our line of seed beads. So our line of seed beads, the first one we're going to do is white. The pattern is going to be red at the top of the flag, and we work our way down red, white, red, white, red, white. Again, if you want to, you could have done that V at the top too, just going in through the form. And now we're going to go really, really simply and just grab a lot of your white beads. Once again, I'm using 11 seed beads. You can use delicas or 15s in this smaller form. Bigger form, you can obviously use 11s or 8s, or you could even use 6s that sit to the front, or ribbon if you want to get really crafty. You can kind of test pushing those beads up to the top and seeing how much more you have to gather. You don't want to gather more seed beads than is the length. You want it to fit kind of perfectly. Once you have those in there perfectly, you can see I still have room for another bead. I'm going to add one more bead here. Let that fall down there and see you've got your white beads that kind of stick to the front. We're going to go from the front of the form to the back of the form, sewing through that same open rectangle. Once you're there, we're going to sew up through that line of seed beads again. So it's almost like a figure 8 of your thread that you're going to do. And because this is our first one, as we get to the top, we're actually going to come down the line one more time. So there you go. You're going the whole way through, making sure that stays to the top, giving a nice tight pull to create that line of seed beads, going from the front of the form to the back of the form. And as you're from the front to the back there, you're going to take your needle and thread one more time and go the whole way down that seed bead line. As you go down that seed bead line then, and we get to the bottom, pull your thread to make sure those beads are nice and tight. So you can see I'm pulling the thread fairly tight. From here, you're going to go from the front of the design to the back and then over into the next area. We're going to do the same thing here, adding all of our red. So we're going to add a row of red, go and sew from the top of the design to the back, back through the red, And then just like we hopped over from the right here, we're going to go to the next line and do white. I'll show you those lines as we go in and skip from one line to the other. As you do your next row of red, I added all the reds, went over the form, tucked underneath, and came back up through the top, going in here then and sewing that in place, giving a nice tight pull to get your line of red. You're coming out the top of the form. So the thread is to the top of the form. You're going over the top of the form. You're going to go over and under to come out the next line. White one, same exact thing. Adding all the white beads, going through from the top through underneath, bringing your needle and thread then out through the bottom, back down the line of white. And then as we get over to the other section, you're just going to kind of hop the little line here. We'll show when we get that done. Once you get to the center here, one idea is that if you want to, you can actually just do seed beads and kind of ignore the stars there. In my example here, I took my paint markers and painted it blue. You can also use a Sharpie marker. I'm going through the side rectangular open. And see how it kind of pulls it to the side. I'm going from the 4th row here over to the 5th, pulling that in towards the center, going back down through my line of red, down to the bottom, pushing it with my hand exactly where it needs to be. So when I pull tight with the thread, it kind of locks it in place. Then I'm going to do the same thing with the white one. And so there's no thread on the outer row. When I do the outer row, I'm going to go back towards the 5th row. So here then I do my white row. And once you get down that white row, see how I did. Pretty good guess. One more. So here the white row, same thing. You're going to go from the top here, underneath, through over to the side here, coming out through that last one there, back down through the white row before adding your red row. And like I said, once you have your needle through there, I know this can be a little bit hard to see, especially once your needle starts getting a little bit turned. I'm going through that whole line when I can, pushing it down with my fingers to make sure that thread is locked tight and in place, and pushing that down right there to where it needs to be. Going over to the next one, and then as we come up, we lock in over towards the empty hole as well. Once you have your lines established there for your flag, what you're going to do is get rid of the extra thread. So I'm going to go to the back of the design here. I'm going to go underneath a couple bridge threads and across right here. I'm going to sew underneath that bridge thread, making a loop. I'm going to sew through that loop once, going to sew through that loop twice. Give a nice tight pull, and then burn down the extra thread ends. There we go. Here on the top, I'm going to take my thread and needle, or I mean my thread that's remaining here, bring it towards the back. If you want to do any fringe, when you're down here along the bottom, I did here just a couple seed beads kind of hanging out towards the back, but I brought them all towards the front. Made a Y, 3 seed beads back, and then dropped a couple down. When I was at the stars, I thought it looked nice to do 3 11-0s and kind of bring them back into an 8 and hang them down. I'm going to burn off this extra wire here, or thread here. Burn it down towards the back of the piece. Flip it back over. Now I'm going to grab my E6000. These stars do have a little hole in them. You can see in this one here, I used the open hole as the hanger for the top. You can also decorate blue, red, and do all kinds of fringe down if you want to. It would look fun with a couple of different cords also coming down here. I'm going to take the E6000, just do a little dab of glue there. Just a little bit will hold. The nice thing with the wood as well as the acrylic is it's pretty light overall. I'm lining up my hole of my acrylic star, which is tiny, to the hole of the side here, just so I know about where I'm putting them. And that's it. That finishes up those earrings. Like I said, you can really make them into a pendant too if you want, hanging it here, having some fringe or streamers hanging down and connecting along the sides. That would look fun as a little necklace here. Also, some people mentioned going in and creating a pin out of this. It would be a fun pin. When you get this glue dried a little bit, you're just going to grab your ear wire if you're doing an earring and open up the ear wire by pulling to the back. It does have obviously a front side and a back side. If you want to, you can decorate the back also. I'm going to go up through the back here, putting this guy on, dropping it down, making sure that it hangs correctly, and then going in and just closing up that loop to finish off my nice little patriotic earrings. So whether or not you're doing something to hang from a car, whether or not you want to do a pin, or you can even do something to hang from the Christmas tree as well too. Great for veterans and all of that. Look at all the laser forms. They can be put together, eagles and stars and drops and rectangles, all kinds of fun things that can be made with it as well too. Thanks so much for joining me in creating these fun flag earrings. You can get really creative with these, kind of gluing some of those forms in front. I was just discussing to some of our Twitch audience here, actually taking the flags and just keeping them open, and the wood also gives that antique-y look, or decorating them for the different members of service. You can do some green for Army, some blue for Navy, etc., with those different ones. You can hang them as pendants going this way and have fun designing, painting, beading, gluing, all of that with these different laser forms. Remember, if you need to check out any laser forms or want to see the different acrylics to go along with them, go ahead and look below the video in the description. We have links there to get back to our website. You can check out all the cool products that we have that are custom one of a kind that we make. Remember, if you haven't yet, hit that little subscribe button so you don't miss anything from us here at Potomac Beads. Happy 4th and thanks for watching. See you next time.